So for the past 18 years as a mix engineer, I've had this personal strategy that I use when mixing vocals to ensure my lead vocal sits right in the mix, that it feels important and that it stays in focus all the way through. And I wanted to share that with you guys today. So let's go for a walk and I'll tell you more about it. And in the meantime, I'll enjoy this cup of tea. So here we go. Do your tea break. And it's something I do in 2 parts with a third extra dimension to it. It all starts with doing a rough balance of the whole mix first, because it's very important to have a good balance of the drums and the keys and guitars and everything in the vocal. And then what I do is that I start listening to the vocal together with the drums and the bass only. And after doing that for about 10 minutes or however long it takes, I mute the drums and the bass and I bring in the guitars and keys instead, and I continue to automate the lead vocal on top of those as if they were the bed for the vocal. And then I bring everything in at the same time. But here comes the second part. What I do now is that I try to identify distractions and problems in the track that are somehow competing with the vocal. If I feel like a guitar or a key is problematic and that it's distracting the listener from the vocal at times, not all the time, but even at times, I mute those. Boom, I remove the problem right away. And now I continue automating the vocal and perfecting the automation, but at some point I start bringing those problem elements back into the mix, one by one, and I listen to that element with the rest of the mix and the vocal, but my focus is on that instrument and the vocal, together. And then I go through the whole mix and I try to identify places in the mix where I feel like they're clashing, and then I do something about it. And then I bring in the next one and the next one, and I focus on one of them at a time. And the vocal is always the focus, right? So it's kind of like making a statement. You tell all the elements in the song, like, hey guys, the vocal is the king or the queen, and you have to be there to serve and support the king or queen. But then you might decide that at this moment in the song, the focus should shift to something else, not the vocal. It could be a solo coming in, a harmonica or guitar or keyboard or whatever. And the moment you understand that it's all about this game of focus and support and shifting focus and having it dynamically move around sometimes, mixing becomes easier because you're mixing, second by second and bar by bar instead of the whole song in one go. So to recap, try automating the vocal towards different things, like first the drums, and then maybe just with the guitars and keys, and then all together. Second, find problem elements or distractions, remove them, continue automating the vocal, and then bring them back in one by one and making way for the vocal. 3, remember that sometimes the focus has to shift to instruments too, otherwise the mix will be flat and boring. And if you want to continue learning about the art of mixing vocals, I'm offering a workshop at Sonic Ranch in Texas in February 2025. It's going to be an amazing experience, a 3-day recording and mixing workshop on a beautiful pecan nut farm. So check out the link below. There are still a couple of tickets left. And if you're watching this after February 2025, check out the link anyway, because there's always new workshops coming up. And I'm doing one in Abbey Road, for example, in 2026.